noirnerd. Thought I'd carry on from the last vlog and do the introductory part of walking the dog. So this is Virus Zapper vlog if you've not seen it before. I'm basically making a game with Playcanvas, and in this vlog I'm going to be showcasing, I started to experiment a bit with procedural generation, so I thought it might be quite nice to introduce a bit of randomness to the game environment. I also added a graphic for the virus at first. I'm still not sure exactly how to represent the transmission amongst the human beings that run around, but did that too. So without further ado, I'll give you an overview of what I've done so far. I sort of went off on one. It was a bit more of an experimental track than before. So yeah, enjoy. Okay, so I was looking at the map as it was, and I was thinking it looks a bit random, so I was just sort of messing around with some of the buildings at this point, like trying to make it look a bit more naturalistic, also screwing on particle effects just because I haven't looked that much. That's what I'm doing now at this point. Just testing out the flying mechanics again, because the first time I come back onto it, looking at all the crowd movement and that, I guess. And then, so I also wanted to start thinking about getting the actual virus model in there. So I settled on finding a model, because this game was partially inspired by the coronavirus as well, this game idea. I decided just to find a model of that, so I looked at two alternatives, which we'll look at in a second. For now, I was just sort of testing out the general way that all of the NPCs are moving, I guess, and just the general movement of them. Next, I think I'm going to be going on to the now this part this is all sped up. I wanted to create a border, so borders between the so you couldn't go outside of off the map. So adding some collision detections and rigid body models in Playcanvas. So it's just a very sped up version of me messing around with that. This is finally I looked at two possible models just downloaded for free from Sketchfab, which is a decent resource for free models and stuff. Just using free models because for the time being these are fair. You can use them, fine to use the Creative Commons. I think I settled on this model eventually. Very nice, looks some nice effect, nicely models. Put that in there. So I put that in and then added a script for the movement, just using the same script actually as the NPCs in a minute, but I'm going to add pathfinding. I was going to look at that a bit more, and then I sort of got sidetracked by the next part, which I'll talk about. So yeah, I plunked this model in here, and then sort of just inspected the movement of the virus, as it were. So I just wanted to check that it was working, that it would move, and alas it did. There you go. It started moving around. It was just following basically just like a random path like the other NPCs. So that's something I'm put apart to now, but I'm going to next, one of the major things to do is add some pathfinding, so it like goes to the nearest player. This is a bit of the script there, so this is the person script, the general one. I was thinking a little bit at that point just about how I can modify it, but I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get much further than that at this point, because I got distracted by the next thing, which is the idea of doing procedural generation. And this is mostly based on the fact that I'd seen a demo on Playcanvas, which I'd not seen before, about procedural generation that looked not too complicated. So this next part is me basically just looking at their script and looking how I can implement it in my own version. So I copied the script over, don't want to reinvent the wheel, just deleted disabled all the things in there. So at first it generated like very randomly, it was very spread out. It did generate these elements like the floor and the buildings, but not in the way I anticipated, as you can see there, just very quickly. So this is a lot of fidgeting. This is probably about 30 or 40 minutes worth of work, I guess. And so eventually I decided to just generate the buildings. I didn't want to generate the floor as well. I didn't think it was really required. I just needed a randomization so I could randomly generate buildings. So I did that, got that eventually working. They're all a bit close and clustered at first, as you can tell there. I know it's quite fast, but you can sort of tell everything was very clustered together. So next I just messed around with the script settings to spread it out a bit more. Mostly that was a case of just playing with the attributes that were already there. I also realised there was something wrong I did with the actual entity where all these things were being added. So then I randomised the scale for the Y as well, added a rand Y variable there. You can probably just about see it. Math, so she creates a random math value between 20 max 20. So that was doing that then. And again, just messing with the script there. And then I started to spread the models out a bit more, which you can see there. So there's a bit more spread out then. Then I added the walls back again because just enabled them again in the editor, which is quite nice thing you can do, just disable them momentarily. Ding. So there I was just testing there's a collision happening on those walls, which was happening. Still need to add probably collision detection on the generated buildings. Not exactly sure how to do that. But the walls collide. And I was also testing if the collision console log was firing, just to check that it was picking up the collision. So that's what I was doing there. Also just testing flying around, and I was doing a few refreshes just to see what different variations you could get with the procedural generation of the buildings, which was quite nice and interesting to look at. At this point I was just trying to get a reload script to work, so if you collided with the wall it just automatically reloaded the level. And yeah, so that's where I'm at now with it, and still lots of stuff to do. Like I want to add an explosion effect probably if you knock into things, and also need to work with the interface for actually the actual gameplay aspect of it as well. But yeah, so and then here I was just again testing the collision. Yeah, so reset the level, but it did work, but it seems that if I do it twice it doesn't work, so I still need to work some stuff out. Like there you can see it just knocks into the, affects the camera, but it doesn't actually reset the level if I do it twice. And this happened as well. It kind of went crazy, which was interesting to see. But yeah, that's probably enough for this episode. Hope you're interested enough to watch the next one, and yeah, that's the Virus Zapper vlog 3. Like and subscribe if you like the content. I've been noirnerd, and cheers.